James, can you hear me?
Yes, let me turn up my volume. Can you hear me?
Yep.
You want to say something again, Tony?
Say something again.
Yeah, there we go. Just had to turn up my volume.
Right. I thought since I'm the host, I get this thing started sooner rather than later.
And with a face for radio and a voice for print, should I go ahead and turn off my camera?
No, I'm in the process of promoting you to panelist.
Okay, there we go.
Hala, are you in Florida?
Yes, I'm still in Florida.
Looks like it's
I'll be
dark
back on
dark
Monday.
outside there.
No, it's sunny and the weather is beautiful. I'll keep my camera off because I'm doing two things in parallel.
Can you? Joined as a panelist.
Do we have Mr. Spencer on board?
Good morning, or afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon. And I think I heard Mike Tillum also.
You did. I got to figure it out. Start video. There we go.
Hey, Charlie, before we get started, I'm going to get you in touch with one of our juvenile domestic judges, or two of them. They've got an idea that they want to work with you on what they need to do to get an application in to have someone embedded in the court system that can help them with referral of services for opioid abuse.
Okay.
Now, get that started for a period of time, and if it's successful, hopefully either the state will pick it up or localities will pick it up because it's saving them money on foster care costs.
Okay. Sounds good. Appreciate the heads up. Happy to help.
Sure thing.
Tim, would that person be working in a court services unit?
There and or directly with the courts themselves.
I think B is a better option.
That's where I'd rather it go, because then it's under their control a little more directly.
While we're chatting, I think Sharon Buckman joined the call as well as Dr. Melton.
No smiles.
I'm smiling.
Oh, I got one in there. It's only a first draft. It's a painting. Hey, Doc.
Hi, everyone. I went ahead and put the minutes in the chat box in case you guys need to review those before we do that approval.
Dr. Melton, just for administrative purposes, we currently have 4 of the 7 grants committee members in attendance. So we do have a quorum. I have not heard from Dr. Thompson. I'm not sure. Kara, have you heard from Mr. Holland as to whether he's going to be attending?
No.
He
And I know
accepted
that-
the invite, but I haven't heard anything else.
Okay.
Well, since it's 3:30, I guess we can go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority Grants Committee, and we have established we have a quorum. And do we have anybody that's a guest? I don't think we really do we?
We've got 2 individuals whose names are not fully disclosed joining as attendees. I think one of them might be Tyler Lester.
This is Judy with Delegate Ballard's office. Okay, so I am showing up there. So is there anything you needed when you mentioned Tyler? I thought maybe it was.
Looks like Tony's on the phone for a second, so.
Tyler Lester was just calling me. I think that they're going to be calling in here in just a moment.
Okay. Well, since we have a quorum, do you want to go ahead and proceed and approve our minutes from November 16th? If you guys have had a chance to review, I will entertain a motion for approval in a second. So I'll let you guys give me that when you get a chance.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Anybody?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. In affirmative, thank you. Anybody in opposition?
Abstention, as I was probably not there. Jim Holland, abstention, as I was not there.
Hey, Jim, thanks for joining. Good to see
Yeah,
you.
good to see you all. Happy New Year.
You too. All right, let's see here. So we have approved our minutes. I guess we're just going to keep going on, and I'm going to turn it over to Charlie, who is going to be doing the grants application overview. Charlie, you ready?
I mean, if I'm not, right, it's a little late, huh?
True that.
So just a second, let me get my screens in the right order here.
Sure. Take your time.
And share screen. Tony, I think I need it's not letting me share. Can you,
Okay.
can you enable me?
No, but what I can do is I can share the screen for you.
Okay.
For a second. And looking for the share screen icon.
Bottom pop-up menu.
Okay, you should see it now.
All right. Well, afternoon, everyone. Here is the big reveal, I would say, of the applications. that and the process that we're putting together for our grant program. So this will be for the cities and counties, both for their individual as well as what we've referred to as their regional projects. So before I step in, I think all of you should have received a draft copy back on December 30th of the application as like for the individual cities and counties as it existed at that point. It is still being refined, and we also have a package for the regional projects, which we're terming as cooperative partnerships, that you should have today gotten a copy of just the application portion of both of those. So Tony, move to the next slide. Tony, you're still there?
Hey, Tony, we can't hear you.
You need to unmute, Tony.
It says the screen sharing is paused. I'm trying to figure out how to unpause it.
There we go.
Sorry.
All right, so here we go. So I wanted just a quick level set as we've been refining stuff and refining language to make sure we're specifically talking about the specific entities that we can provide these grants to. We're the individual distribution to cities and counties. As mentioned, that is one of the application packages. This is the distributions from the OAA to the cities and counties of OAA funds, and that it's the piece that's 15% of the OAA funds. You will also hear us refer to the direct distribution to cities and counties. This refers to the distributions they are directly receiving from the settlement administrator. That's 30% of the total settlement. So we've tried to refine and get consistent terms in the application packages and in all the supporting and guidance documents so that we're using the same language throughout and that it's properly descriptive. We've tried to stay away from using words like localities because towns are considered localities, even though we know that they are not able to apply for these funds directly. And then cooperative partnership projects. So this is what we had been terming as regional. I think regional can be a bit of a limiting word. So again, this is the projects that are requesting OAA funding that involve at least 2 or more cities and counties in the same Department of Behavioral Health Developmental Services region, or sometimes informally referred to as a Community Service Board region. Any question on the terms before I move into the next piece? All right. So this is highlighting the individual cities and counties distribution would be the application, one of the PDFs that you got earlier today. So our initial application period is going to be January 19th through May 5th, 2023. And subsequently from there, our regular and more annual process will run October 1 to April 1 of each year, giving time to hit the different cycles that localities use when they are working on their own budgets. We will have a kind of for these individual distributions, we will have a rolling 2 years performance period. So when they apply this first initial time, they'll be able to get money for the current fiscal year, which is fiscal year 23, and for the next fiscal year, fiscal year 24. In subsequent years, when they go to apply on the next cycle, they will apply, they can amend FY24 and then request funding for FY25, and so on, because these, we're just, I kind of see ourselves as a guardrail and a speed bump for these distributions. It's the cities and counties' money, but we've got to make sure that they're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. So if they have a project they want to work, a long time on, then that's fine, unless they elect to sunset something. So also, we're going to allow an automatic carryover of funds from fiscal year 23 to 24 and from 24 to 25 to kind of allow for startup. Be that they banking funds for like a small capital project, or if they need to put some RFPs on the street and wait for those to come back, or it just, some things don't happen as quick in an implementation as you might expect. So we're giving them 2 years to kind of get everything together. Subsequent to that last carryover, any carryovers will have to be approved by the OAA, or they will have to return the funds. They will need to maintain separate accounting. So any of their direct distributions from the settlement administrators need to be accounted for differently from any of these individual distributions from the OAA. As far as the direct distribution activities go, as part of the application, they have to report to us what it is that they are doing or plan to do with those settlement funds. And also, they may, if they follow a process we laid out, they may create a reserve with their direct distribution to kind of help with funding. There's so much stuff that's front loaded, especially like with the Janssen settlement, and then the out years, things kind of trail off. So if they want to try to create a more kind of stable level of funding between their direct shares and their direct distribution and their individual distribution from the OAA, they can reserve some of those direct distributions to help level the boat out for the rest of the time frame. Let's see. They also may elect to use some or all of their individual distribution to one of those cooperative partnership projects. And to do so, they would not submit an application to us for that. They would their cooperative partnership agreement would need to document that they are planning to do that and how much they are planning to apply. So we have something with their signature on it that tells us what they want to do with that portion of the money. We have a separate application that's included in the same PDF that was provided to you today for the gold standard incentive that gives them the 25% bump on their 15% of the OAA shares if they apply the gold standard to their direct distribution, sorry, using the wrong term. And this shows that they will be commit to this, and they will need to do that each year as they apply for their funding each year. There will need to be a governing body resolution for the individual distribution and the incentive applications that really provides signatory authority to the county executive or whoever they elect to be able to apply for it. So it gives the signatory authority and shows the support of the governing body. All applicants must select from a predefined set of performance measures. So we will have even performance measures to be able to report out on each year. They must provide line item budgets and a project timeline and agree to all terms and conditions. And at this point, reporting will be yearly, usually due around September 1st, so that we have a chance to get and review reports before the next grant cycle would start in October. So that was a lot of information. Do we have any questions on the individual cities and counties distribution? All right, hearing none, can move on to the cooperative projects. All right, cooperative partnership projects with multiple cities and counties. So same application period for this initial, January 19th to May 5th. Subsequent years will also be October 1st to April 1st, because this allows them to figure out how any funds that they're putting towards both projects can run on the same timeline. So these grants and distributions will have a 1-year performance period. What they apply for this year will not be awarded in FY23. It'll be awarded in fiscal year 24, starting in July. If approved, the project will have an option for up to 4 one-year renewals. Subsequent to that initial 5-year period, if they want to continue the project, they have to start over again. So this is running more like a normal grant does, where you kind of get an award for a certain amount of time. And then if you want it again, you have to kind of go back to the drawing board and start over. We are going to allow an automatic carryover from fiscal year 24 to 25 for startup, same reason as we did on the individual distributions. And again, subsequent carryovers will require OAA approval, or they have to return the funds. The cooperating cities and counties must select a fiscal agent, which has to be a city or a county. That fiscal agent must keep separate accounting. So that fiscal agent will have to keep separate their direct distribution from the settlement administrator, their individual distribution from the OAA, and this cooperative distribution that they are managing for the partnership. And the fiscal agent is responsible for all financials, receiving the money, paying bills, and also any reporting requirements and performance measures. If we have a question or an issue with a particular cooperative partnership project, we are going to the fiscal agent to talk with them. They're going to be our main point of contact. So as part of the application process, they must provide us a copy of that cooperative partnership agreement. And again, as mentioned before, they may use the individual distributions. The participating cities and counties can do that, and they have to identify that in the cooperative partnership agreement. And additionally, as part of the budget line item budget process, they need to identify if a participating city or county is using any of their direct or individual distributions as part of their budget. That way, we have the ability to see what other opioid abatement funds are being used for this project. Just as similar to the individuals, applicants must select from the predefined performance measures, provide the line item budget and project timeline, agree to all terms and conditions, and comply with the yearly reporting. Also September, as is the individual. Any questions on the cooperative partnership projects?
Madam Chair, if I can just add one comment to what Charlie has presented here,
Sure.
and really would like to give him the credit for thinking through some pretty complicated layers that we could potentially see here with the OAA distribution that's going directly to cities and counties. Each city and each county really has a pretty good sense of exactly how much money they're going to be receiving, both directly from settlements and from the OAA over the course of a number of years. But that's not the case with these regional opportunities. And that's the reason why we were trying, or that Charlie's recommending, that what we do is basically put these out as 5-year awards. So legally, it would be 1-year award with up to 4 renewals, but for practical purpose, we're doing 5 years at a time. And that gives these regional partnerships some runway to get up to speed, to hire staff, to obtain the resources that they need, and to begin having an impact. And so it does make it a very different type of grant application than what we're going to be seeing with cities and counties applying for their own funding. And for that reason, we're looking to start this with funding next fiscal year, as opposed to providing funding in the current fiscal year. And so it's just worth sort of mentioning that to the group. It also ties back to the long-term financial plan that Adam presented to the Finance Committee recently, where we're looking at having a long-term plan for smoothing out the OAA appropriations for regional grants across the Commonwealth, so that those funds are not constantly, up and down, peaks and valleys, because that's not going to help regional projects try to gear up and operate over a long period of time.
All right. So on to the next piece. So this This is the kind of an outlay of another document you should have received, which is kind of our process for making grant awards to the individual cities and counties. And this is an item that is kind of like a policy that once we've read it over, answered any questions, that if we're good with it, we would be looking for a motion to adopt. So, but this slide kind of walks you through the high level pieces of it. So all projects that come in, so if one city or county applies for 5 projects, we will still review each project individually. Decisions and recommendations will be made like individually. It won't be all pass or none. The staff will be reviewing every project for compliance with the terms and conditions, with the statutory requirements, and we'll also kind of be using a process to create kind of a presumption of a compliance, kind of like a patently qualified or prima facie evidence for approval. And this would be that the projects are using an approach approved by the American Society of Addiction Medicine, the Virginia chapter of ASAM, or any agency of the Commonwealth, or is a project that's been approved or implemented by a Virginia Community Service Board, or also a project that expands or enhances an existing program that's measurable and has a successful track record. But also, if there's any projects that don't directly meet this kind of initial presumption, they'll still be reviewed for approval with the statutory requirements and forwarded with everything else. All projects recommended for approval by staff will be forwarded to the grant committee for consideration. If there is an application that staff has determined is not compliant, we'll notify the applicant, and they have the following options. They can work with the OAA staff to kind of replace or revise and kind of try to achieve compliance to gain staff approval. They can withdraw, or they can stay with it the way it is and submit a notice to appeal. And that notice to appeal would come to the grants, would come to us and then be referred to the grants committee. So the committee would vote to approve or not approve applications in a public meeting. The voting may be in blocks or individually. So for example, if we had a number of projects that were in that presumption of compliance thing, we would probably provide those in a block. And things that are more that maybe aren't meeting that may come through individually, so they can have a little more discussion and consideration. Additionally, any projects that present a potential conflict of interest to a committee member will be, even if they would fit in a block, they'd be pulled out to be dealt with individually, so that would allow that committee member to be able to recuse themselves from voting on those. If any applicants are appealing, they can present that appeal to the committee during the public meeting. And if the committee does not then determine to approve, they also then appeal to the full board. At the next board meeting, present there, and then the board's decision at that point will be final. Tony, I think something happened a little bit with the slide.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Charlie?
I think something happened with the slide. It kind of slid down on the screen.
Oh.
But I think that's the last bullet of this particular. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Tony. So any questions on this kind of process for making the grant awards? Can you go back one real quick, Tony? See if there's any questions on this.
I just wanted to clarify, when you say an agency of the Commonwealth of Virginia, that means an official entity that's part of the state government?
Yes.
Okay.
We're thinking Department of Health, Department of Behavioral Health, Developmental Services, Social Services, Criminal Justice, DOC. Those.
Okay. All right. It wouldn't be other, like, well, that answers my question. Thank you.
That is the intention of that definition, yes. Any other questions on this? All right, so going to the next slide, Tony. So what you guys got sent back at the end of December was kind of a one giant PDF that with all the reference pages looks like it's like 116 or so pages, which is kind of daunting for people to absorb. So what we are planning to do when we release this is have an update to the OAA website that looks something like this, so that there is when you come onto the main page, there's a grants button. You click the grants button, you come here. You kind of see our kind of statement of purpose here, then all the different types of reference material that is verboten across all applications will be available there where that purple button is. Our overview of the OAA, our glossary of terms, our references to the code, our references to the Exhibit E, the MOU, all those types of things will be there because they apply to all different types of grants. Then you see we'll have a button for the individual cities and counties. We'll have one for the cooperative partnerships and one for the state agencies. And so then when you click to that, Tony, on to the next. You'll have a specific page that has the specific things for that particular. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is if you click on the overview, the general reference point, they'll have the overview, our glossary of terms, estimated settlements for cities and counties, the OAG's provisions, the APA's guidance, the Exhibit E from Janssen and the distributors, the settlement MOU, PDF for a link to the Code of Virginia, and our policies, the incentive policy, the process on making awards for the cities and counties, and the other policies that we're working on for the other areas. And then when you go to the next button for the individual cities and counties, next slide, you'll get a guidance document for that particular application, the actual application and project proposal. The individual cities and counties will have the application for the gold standard, and then you'll have the terms and conditions specific to that grant program. Then similarly, when you go to the one for the cooperative partnerships, you'll have the same guidance document, application, and terms and conditions. And then finally, there'll be one for state agencies. Currently, that was obviously under construction. So we're still putting that process together, but that'll be a place there for them to go. So that's the way. What we will send out emails with links to everyone once everything goes live, to all the localities, so that they can get there and access it. But it leaves everything in one simple place. It allows them to download it and go through submission. It's part of their application. They will have a checklist that tells them, here's all the things you need to include, and then they will email that to a general email box that the OAA will manage to be able to pull them in for this first one until we get through this first process and can have some experience to be able to work on creating a portal. That'll be for the next round.
Real quickly, if I could ask Charlie or recommend something that we work and have some sample forms, sample resolutions for multiple, if you have an application coming from multiple jurisdictions and things of that nature.
There is a sample resolution for the individual cities and counties for that signatory authority. So that's already in the individual application package.
Wonderful.
Are you thinking what else are you thinking? You said it's like a sample application, like what a properly filled out application would look like?
Yes, sample agreements and sample resolutions. And of course, I wouldn't ask these questions unless I'm also willing to work with you to help on this, work with you and James on this.
Okay. Yeah, a sample application should be easy put together. Like I said, we have the sample resolution for the one that we need. I think a sample agreement, that might take a little bit of collaboration to make sure we kind of pull in what the basic elements of that need to look like. So if you have one that might be a good template, feel free to send it to me.
We'll talk.
But yeah, we can work on that.
You and James, we can come up with something that everyone feels comfortable with.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions for Charlie before he moves on to the second part? Tony, did you want to say something?
No, ma'am, I was just going to mention that as we circle back to the proposed process for making grant awards, that we were going to see if the committee if there was a pleasure of the committee of considering a motion to actually adopt that process now so that we can begin finalizing some of these things before we roll it out.
Yeah, I think that this is the appropriate time to do that. Does everybody feel ready to go ahead and make this make a motion for approval for the processes that were just presented to us?
I make the motion to approve those, the recommendations made by Charlie.
I'll second that motion, Jim Holland.
Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and make sure everybody agrees. Is everyone in agreement? Please raise your hand or say aye in affirmation. Aye.
Aye.
All right, looks like it is unanimous. Thank you very much. There's your approval.
Thank you.
Woo!
Good job, Charles. Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I have a lot of appreciation for the whole OAA team, and Ms. Buckman also gave me some feedback on an early version of the project from the point of view of someone who would be completing one or has completed some in the past. So there's a lot of various people that came together to help me get here. So appreciate everyone's help.
Yeah, excellent job. I guess the next thing on our agenda is for you to, I guess we're going to further discuss the policy and procedures.
Now, so I should have said at the beginning, I ended up kind of combining that into one
Okay.
presentation because everything kind of just flowed together.
Okay.
Because I put it together after I put the agenda together.
Okay, no, that's fine. I thought that might be the case, but I didn't know if
Yeah.
you had anything separate you needed to cover. Okay.
Nope.
All right, awesome. And I think now we have time for discussion. Did you guys have any specific areas that you want to discuss that we need to get some traction on, or anything else you want to cover?
I have a question. I don't know if this is the right time. You'll tell me, maybe do it later. I'm getting questions by folks that want to learn how to connect to places to maybe be a part of the resources that the counties need that may or may not know that exist. And they wanted to know if the counties are going to just create new things for themselves to do and it's not acceptable, or will they use the resources that are kind of already out there that help the end user, because that's what we're supposed to do, I believe. And I just told them I'd come back to them after we met with an answer. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Just a pathway. So like, this is an example. Get with DBHDS. If you need housing or you need this, whatnot,
Right.
Or if you have a recovery support service program that you would like to do, whether it's to help inmates coming out, or whether it's to help women and kids that are incarcerated that now are trying, whatever that looks like, because we're already, people that do what I do are already on boots on the street. How do we create something that, something new and partner with those folks, partner with Henrico Mental Health or any of these other places? Is there a template that we want to come up with to show the CSB and folks that kind of do what I do, how they can connect to be a service to folks? So we give them a roadmap. So here, this is one way to do it. This is another way, so that we're not, just leaving it up to the government and the cities to come up with their own way of doing things.
Madam Chair, if I can, I'd like to take a stab at answering that.
Yes, please.
As you all know, the way the statute was written is that, cities and counties, their local governing body ultimately is the that's the group that's going to have to decide how to spend these funds. And in some cases, they may want to build out programs that they conduct through their own employees, or maybe they build out programs through their community services board, or maybe they reach out to organizations that are in the community, that nonprofits and for-profits and non-government organizations that Mike is talking about. And I think we've heard so far already a lot of questions about from certain cities, certain counties, on how do they get started in figuring that out. And that's one of the reasons that later this month, on January 19th and 20th, that we're working with VACO and Virginia Municipal League and the Virginia Association of Planning District Commissions to host a workshop. And it's a 2-day workshop on January 19th in the afternoon. Charlie will be the primary speaker, and he's going to be explaining to the audience, city and county leaders, how to go about applying for grants. And then the next day, on Friday the 20th, we're going to have some examples of some best practices that are being provided around the Commonwealth. And in fact, Ms. Buckman is going to be presenting at that event to talk about programs at Piedmont CSB. But Mike, we've also got Jenny Lovett from the Chris Atwood Foundation is going to be speaking, talking about how she works, how her organization is available to work with county governments in Northern Virginia, and how that's a model that the rest of the state should look at in terms of working with community-based organizations. Sheriff Carl Leonard's going to talk about programs that Chesterfield's doing in the jails with recovery homes and with other organizations. And so we are going to have, Marty Kilgore is going to be there talking about the programs that the Healthy Youth Foundation offers to cities and counties and school districts for youth prevention efforts. And so the idea, Mike, is to do exactly like what you're describing, which is to provide some examples of ways that cities and counties can use these funds either on their own or to collaborate, partner with other organizations to reach those end users. I suspect that once we get the mechanics of the grant process and, this form and this is how the money gets transferred and all of that, I predict that much of what this board is going to do and what our team is going to be doing in future years, once the mechanics are all kind of figured out, where we're really going to add value is to continue to build those relationships between the cities, the counties, and the organizations, whether they're governmental and non-government organizations that help people, and just continue to refine that and grow it and build on it. So what you've described is not something we're going to be able to solve this year, but it is the long-term goal, I think, of this authority.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
If I could add a little bit, I think probably the small first step will be is we've just about got the survey that Hala has been working on to go out and kind of help us build our toolkit. And I think once we're happy with that, not only will it go out to the CSBs and the health districts, but I think we will probably work on posting something on our website that would allow people to kind of come in and go, are you a project, or, are you with some people that are in the opioid abatement space? Here you go. You can click one of these links and choose a category that best fits you and fill out and send us information related to your program that would allow us to kind of review things and get them added into the toolkit over time.
Okay.
And because the toolkit, we're going to have a little something together, hopefully for the 19th, but it won't be what the toolkit ends up being larger. That's going to be kind of, Tony's described it as like a living document. As new programs come about or as programs enhance and change, that this document will live and kind of grow with that. And, we'll probably add things in from localities that are applying for things that already exist that we maybe don't realize exist. So that'll be kind of our first step with that.
Okay, cool.
And once that's up, we can let you know so you can direct people to that portal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else of interest anyone wants to discuss, or questions, concerns?
Just real quickly, I was put on alert that starting the first part of the year, in addition to the CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart settlements, that the settlements with Teva and Allergan are going to come through rather quickly. Didn't know if you all were familiar with that, but it was the last two that they had been finalized was a little bit new to me. And then there were several nuances with the CVS settlement that I understand the Attorney General's office has finally has signed off on it. There was a little bit of contention about was that going to resolve all disputes under the CVS umbrella, because CVS not only does the prescription side of things, they also provide drug services to help out and supplement insurance policies, health insurance policies.
Tim, if you were going to look into your crystal ball, understanding that, you know, before any of those settlement funds can actually come to Virginia, there's a number of steps that need to happen, and they sort of the last step is for a Virginia court to order the settlement. If you were to look at your crystal ball, any sense of when you think that how that might play out time-wise?
Time-wise, I think it's going to be the first half of the year. First step is going to be we will need additional resolutions from each of the localities to participate in the settlements. We're going to try to do that in one step. And I think I was told the total amount coming to Virginia will be approximately $435 million. But again, that's including the CVS, which we knew about, Walgreens and Walmart. So that's the latest I have on that information. And we should see that first step coming to the localities to get, again, to try to get that 100% participation, which I believe we will. It should be easier moving forward than it was the last time. And in doing that, I think we'll see that in the next 60 to 90 days.
Thanks for that update. That's really helpful to know. Anything else?
Madam Chair, with your indulgence, I'd like to ask if Mike would lift up his painting again. You're on mute, Mike.
You're on mute.
So one of the participants at Journey House, who's in recovery, has painted a first mock-up of a new organizational logo to propose to us. And Mike and I have been talking about this, and I told him that I kind of like the bird the best. And I could see the bird or some variation of that being part of our logo. So I think Mike's talking to the artist to go back to the canvas and come up with some additional versions for the board to look at.
And what's funny is he's 60-something years old. He doesn't do computers. So I kind of sketch out something, or I'll tell him what we're looking for, and you know, he just paints it. You know, it's just great. It's like, you know, working with people that just, you know, have their stuff they're good at and they're not. And this is what he came up with. And he did this freehanded. This isn't taking a pencil and drawing it first. This is putting a paintbrush on the canvas. So it's kind of unique.
That's
So
awesome.
we'll see. And I'll keep all of these and then give them to Tony. I'll hang them up, you know, with the process if we come to something that we all like.
Mhm.
But yeah, thanks for letting me work with this guy.
That's super awesome. Thanks for showing us. That's really great.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And thanks for all the stuff you guys are doing. Just so you know, as a recovery guy that just, you know, is in the sandbox with the children, trying to help them get their life together on a daily basis, to be able to be at this level, to see what you guys are doing for our people, you know, means the world to me. And you guys just are amazing, because I can tell in your delivery and the work you put in that you care. You want to make sure things are correct. You got to stay within a parameter, and you're doing that. And at the same time, trying to make sure things don't get lost, you know, so thank you for that.
Well, thank you for your advocacy for recovery and being willing to serve. We really, really appreciate your input more than you will ever know. I guess, Tony, our next meeting of the Grants Committee is January 30th to proceed the listening session in Hanover. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be sending out a note to the entire board with a reminder about January 19th and 20th, the event we're doing here in Richmond. It's not a posted meeting of the board, so no one's being asked or there's no expectation that you have to be here for the 19th to the 20th, but we certainly want all the board members to know that they're welcome to come and to attend, and would be happy to try to facilitate getting any hotel rooms or making any arrangements that may be needed. So you'll see a note from me separately on that.
Okay, where is it?
It's
Gonna be held?
downtown in Richmond at the Omni.
Oh, okay. I definitely want to go. I'll drive. Coming back home.
Well, I guess that concludes our business for today. Do I have a motion for us to adjourn?
A motion for us to adjourn.
Thank you, Michael. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Anybody in opposition? Because I'm betting not. Okay. Well, Happy New Year to everyone, and thanks for all your hard work. And I'll look forward to continuing working with you over the next few months. Super exciting.
Cool beans. Thank you. Happy New Year. Happy Friday.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.